If you're sitting in a small apartment right now, scrolling through Zillow, wondering if you're falling behind because you don't own a home yet, this video is going to hit close to home. A lot of people feel this quiet pressure around housing. Your friends start buying homes. Your parents ask when you're going to stop wasting money on rent. Social media makes it look like every financially successful person owns property by age 30. So you start questioning yourself. Am I making a mistake by renting? But here's the thing nobody says clearly enough. Buying a house is not automatically the smarter financial decision, and renting is not automatically throwing money away. In some situations, buying a house can quietly drain your finances for years. In other situations, renting can keep you stuck financially without you realizing it. The smartest choice depends on one thing most people ignore. Not what sounds mature, not what society expects, not what some real estate influencer says online. It depends on how you actually live your life and what gives you the strongest financial position long term. So in this video, I want to walk through the real math, the emotional side, the hidden costs people never talk about, and how to know which choice actually makes sense for you. Because this decision affects almost everything: your savings, your freedom, your stress levels, your ability to invest, even your relationships. And most people make the decision emotionally, then spend years trying to justify it financially. Let's talk about it honestly. When people say renting is throwing money away, I always find that interesting, because nobody says that about groceries, nobody says that about electricity, nobody says that about internet service. You pay for a place to live. That's what rent is. Now, yes, when you buy a house, part of your payment builds equity over time. That's true. But people oversimplify this idea so much that it becomes financially dangerous. Because the reality is, especially in the first several years of a mortgage, a huge percentage of your payment is interest, not ownership. Interest.
Let's say you buy a $400,000 house with a standard mortgage. Depending on rates, taxes, insurance, and your down payment, your monthly payment could easily be over $3,000. Sounds manageable on paper, but then life starts happening. The water heater breaks, property taxes increase, insurance jumps, the roof starts leaking, the HVAC system dies in the middle of summer, and suddenly the stable monthly payment everyone talks about doesn't feel very stable anymore. Meanwhile, your friend renting an apartment calls maintenance and goes back to watching Netflix. That doesn't mean renting wins automatically. It just means ownership has costs people romanticize away. And honestly, I think a lot of people buy homes emotionally first and financially second. There's something deeply psychological about ownership. You want stability. You want your own space. You want to feel like an adult. You want something nobody can take away from you. I understand that completely. But the emotional satisfaction of owning a home can sometimes hide financial strain that slowly builds in the background. I've seen people become house rich and cash poor. They own a beautiful home, but they're stressed every month. They stop investing. They stop traveling. They stop taking career risks. Every unexpected expense feels like an emergency. And from the outside, everyone thinks they're winning financially. This is why I think the better question isn't, should I buy or rent? The better question is, what gives me the strongest financial life overall? Because sometimes renting actually creates more wealth. That surprises people when they hear it, but think about this. If renting allows you to invest aggressively, build an emergency fund, avoid high maintenance costs, and stay flexible for career opportunities, you may end up financially stronger than someone who rushed into buying, especially if you live in a very expensive market. In some cities, the difference between renting and owning is massive. You might rent a place for $2,000 a month, while owning a similar home costs $3,800 after taxes, insurance, maintenance, HOA fees, and repairs. That extra money could be invested every single month. Over time, that matters a lot. Now, to be fair, homeowners also benefit from appreciation. That's the argument people usually make. Real estate always goes up. Except, it doesn't always move the way people expect. Yes, historically, home values tend to rise over long periods, but timing matters. If you buy during a high-rate environment, if prices stagnate for years, if you move sooner than expected, If major repairs hit at the wrong time, your actual return may not look nearly as impressive as those simplified real estate made me rich stories online. And this is the part people hate hearing. A house is not always a great investment. Sometimes it's primarily a lifestyle purchase. And that's okay. Not every financial decision has to maximize returns. If owning a home genuinely improves your life, gives your family stability, gives you peace, that matters too. Money exists to support your life, not the other way around. But you need to be honest about what you're buying. Some people buy homes because they truly want roots. Others buy because they feel embarrassed renting. Those are not the same thing. One is intentional, the other is pressure. And pressure creates bad financial decisions all the time. Now let's talk about something that almost nobody discusses enough: flexibility. Renting gives you flexibility that ownership simply doesn't. You can move cities easier, change jobs easier, downsize easier, leave a bad neighborhood easier. That flexibility has real financial value, especially when you're younger. If you're still figuring out your career, your relationships, where you want to live, or even what kind of life you want, locking yourself into a massive long-term commitment too early can backfire. I know people who bought homes thinking they'd stay 10 years, then wanted to move within 2. And selling a house is expensive. Closing costs, agent fees, repairs before listing, moving expenses. People underestimate how costly mobility becomes once you own property.
Now, obviously, there's another side to this. Renting has its own frustrations. Your landlord can raise rent. You can't customize the place the way you want. You may feel temporary all the time. You're building no direct equity. And emotionally, that can wear on people. There's a certain peace that comes from knowing this place is mine. No landlord inspections, no lease renewals, no worrying whether the property gets sold. That emotional security is real. But here's what I think financially mature people understand. There's a difference between stability and overextending yourself to feel stable. A lot of homeowners are carrying stress nobody sees, especially right now. Higher mortgage rates changed the math dramatically for many buyers. People who could comfortably afford homes a few years ago suddenly found themselves stretching way beyond their comfort zone. And once you stretch financially with housing, everything else gets tighter. Because housing is usually your biggest expense. One wrong move there affects everything: your retirement savings, your investing, your debt payoff, your ability to handle emergencies. That's why I always tell people this: don't buy a house because you can technically qualify for the mortgage. Banks calculate risk differently than real life. A bank might approve you for a payment that leaves you financially exhausted every month. You have to decide what kind of life you actually want outside the house. Can you still save? Can you still invest? Can you still breathe financially? Or does every month become survival mode? That matters more than impressing people. And honestly, social pressure around homeownership is intense, especially online. You'll see videos saying things like, if you don't buy now, you'll be priced out forever. That fear pushes people into rushed decisions, but buying a home before you're financially ready can create years of stress that nobody on social media will help you carry. And here's another thing. A lot of people underestimate the opportunity cost of their down payment. Let's say you put $80,000 into a house. That money is now tied into home equity. Again, not necessarily bad, but it's less liquid. You can't easily access it without refinancing, borrowing against the house, or selling. Meanwhile, renters may have more accessible cash for investments, business opportunities, emergencies, or career transitions. Liquidity matters more than people think, especially during uncertain economic periods. Now, does that mean nobody should buy? Of course not. For many people, buying absolutely makes sense. In my opinion, buying a house becomes much smarter financially when a few things are true. First, you plan to stay there for a long time.
usually at least 7 to 10 years. That gives appreciation and equity time to outweigh the transaction costs and interest-heavy early years of the mortgage. Second, your housing payment still leaves room for investing and saving. This is huge. If owning completely kills your ability to build wealth elsewhere, the house may actually slow your financial progress. Third, you have a solid emergency fund after buying, not before buying, after buying, because unexpected home costs are not rare, they're normal. And fourth, you actually want the lifestyle of ownership, not just the image of ownership. There's a difference. Some people genuinely love maintaining a home, improving it, building roots in a community. Others hate the responsibility once the excitement fades. Be honest about who you are. Now, let me say something that renters need to hear too. If you choose to rent, don't waste the financial advantage. This is where people mess up. They say renting is cheaper, but then the extra money disappears into lifestyle inflation. More eating out, more car payments, more shopping, more subscriptions. If renting saves you money, that difference should be building your future, investing, emergency savings, retirement accounts, paying down debt. Otherwise, you're not really gaining the financial advantage renting can offer. And this is why the buy versus rent debate becomes so emotional online, because the real answer is frustratingly nuanced. The financially smarter choice depends less on the house and more on the person. Your discipline, your stability, your goals, your income, your market, your personality. A financially disciplined renter can outperform overextended homeowner financially for years, and a stable homeowner who buys wisely and stays long-term can build tremendous wealth. Both can work, both can fail. That's the truth people don't like because it doesn't fit neatly into a viral headline. But if I had to simplify this entire conversation into one sentence, it would be this. The smarter financial choice is the one that increases your long-term flexibility, stability, and wealth without crushing your quality of life. That's it. Not ego, not pressure, not trends. Real financial strength often looks quieter than people expect. Sometimes it's the person renting below their means while investing consistently every month. Sometimes it's the family who bought a modest home they can comfortably afford and stayed there for 15 years. Notice the common theme there? Not stretching, not chasing appearances, not trying to look successful, just making sustainable financial decisions over a long period of time. That's usually what creates actual wealth. And honestly, I think more people need permission to stop treating homeownership like a moral achievement. Owning a home does not automatically mean you're financially smart. Renting does not automatically mean you're failing. Your net worth doesn't care about appearances. What matters is whether your financial decisions are helping you build a stable future. So before you decide whether to buy or rent, ask yourself a few honest questions. Am I buying because I'm ready or because I feel behind? Can I comfortably afford the full cost of ownership? Would owning improve my life or mainly improve my image? If I rent, will I actually invest the difference responsibly? And maybe the biggest question of all, what kind of financial life do I actually want? Because once you answer that honestly, the decision becomes a lot clearer. And chances are, you'll make a much smarter choice than someone simply following the crowd. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe because I make content around money, investing, and real-world financial decisions without all the fake internet hype. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Would you rather buy or rent a house?